Shall we begin?
Football Feast.
Oh, well. I knew we was going to beat them clowns.
Hashtag Faith Radio.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
Play around with a bad football team, bad things happen.
I'm a kid, so I call it KFAN.
Hold on to your butts.
Oh, my God!
All righty. Finchy has not called yet from Beverly Hills. What, holy cow. Welcome to the
Football Feast.
On a Friday, it is 9 to noon. Wow.
Yeah.
The Vikings trade, what happened?
The Vikings and Texans have consummated a deal in regard to the draft.
Uh-oh.
So this is per Rap Sheet and Tom Pelissero. So here's what's happening. The Vikings have sent their second-round pick this year. That's pick number 42. Then they also sent a sixth-round pick. That's pick 188. And then a second-rounder next year. So this year's second, next year's second, and a sixth for pick number 23, and a seventh rounder on the back end to make it cool.
Making plays in advance of the NFL draft.
So I got two first rounders now, PA, 11 and 23.
11 and 23.
How far does that get you up there?
In the business, we call that flexibility.
The GM is Kwesi. The GM is Kwesi. The GM is Kwesi.
Welcome, Paul Allen Nordo by my side, and much more on that trade coming up shortly. But joining us now, Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Good morning. It was great seeing you in Beverly Hills. Do you think you're ever going to leave Beverly Hills and come home or go to Utah? You guys have been there so long. You probably have seen a show or a game by now down the road at Hamilton High School, right?
A week, feel like I could run for office. I've been in town so long. So it was great having you out here with us.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And it, there are worse places to be. I'm just wondering, with this quirk in the schedule where you play the Lakers Sunday and the Clippers on Tuesday, and then you don't play Utah till Saturday, why not Salt Lake City for 4.5 days?
Well, I'm trying to keep my job, and to do that, I got to keep players happy. So we have a lot of guys who are actually kind of based here in the off season and have homes, and guys that help them work on their bodies, help them work on their games. So it's kind of a nice little reset here coming down the stretch. But it is a weird scheduling quirk. We played 4 back-to-backs coming out of the break. Pretty intense schedule right out of the break from the All-Star game. And then we get this kind of mini All-Star break, if you will, right in the middle of it. So,
yeah.
But it comes at a good time because we're a little banged up.
Right, but and you don't play for 4 days, from that Clippers game. But then what's even to take the strange and make it stranger, Chris, is Monday. And so Monday you're at Utah, then Tuesday you got a back-to-back with Denver at home. How the heck does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of this, I think, is kind of a result of the in-season tournament. The in-season tournament, the games were spaced a little bit more, kind of, periodically in the beginning of the season. And then the week of the semifinals and the finals of the in-season tournament, if you weren't involved in those games, the league was kind of shut down for the large part of that week. Mm-hmm. And that's, 2 or 3 game slot nights that just eases the schedule everywhere else. And now everything kind of gets backed up as a result. And losers' laments are I'm not trying to make this a loser's lament, but and I know you're not into that, but honestly, do you feel if Rudy played Sunday, you guys would have beaten the Lakers? I feel we would have had a really good chance to.
Right.
Yeah, I thought, I was proud of the guys that gave ourselves a good chance, good shot. Kind of ran out of gas. A little too much Anthony Davis down the stretch for us. But we needed length and size and protection at the rim and rebounding, and that's where they got us. And we just kind of ran out of size.
When you're when you're running the show, running the team during games, I don't know how much you'll notice with an arena, but for my son and I, for Smiley and I, and thanks for the picture too, that was really cool. The difference in like how the Lakers treat in-game ops compared to the Clippers, it was unbelievable. I mean, it's like the court's illuminated and the arena's dark for the Lakers games. And then the whole place is super bright for Clippers games. They're playing shell games up on the screen. They're doing trivia and laser shows. It's just completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think Lakers have that what they call that stage lighting, where they darken the arena, just light the floor, and that's kind of part of their tradition, has been for a long time. When I was an assistant coach, I'd notice a lot more of that stuff. For some reason now I don't get to see it as much, but mostly my back is to a lot of that in the huddle, timeout wise. But it's kind of crazy. I had some friends visiting out here while we were here, and they had never been to games in LA, and they were just amazed at the fact that the arena turns and looks completely different between the two teams. In fact, I think on the Sunday game, the Clips played at 12 noon, and we played at 6:30. So when we got to the arena, we weren't even allowed to access the floor because they were still flipping it over from the previous game. Yeah,
that was really easy to get to Crypto.com Arena that day with the Clippers game ending, yours starting, and the Oscars in town. I mean, LA traffic is immortality, but that little hour from the hotel, that was unbelievable. Now, for that Tuesday game, granted, Kawhi left, but what flipped in that Clippers game so it became so easy to score?
Well, I think we were able to keep, we finally got some stops. Like we started that game, we weren't getting any stops defensively. Partly due to them, they were making some tough shots, and we didn't have enough kind of physicality on the ball, and we weren't executing the game plan to the level we needed to. So once we started to get some stops, we were able to turn them into transition buckets, which we desperately needed over the last couple of weeks, is to get our transition game going. And I think we had a season high, 27 points in transition. A lot of that, of course, from our defense. And I think that was just kind of got some momentum into the game. And then we just, kind of got a great rhythm, made the right play all the time, and didn't fight the defense. And Anthony did one of his best jobs, just getting his teammates the ball at the right time, the right place, while still maintaining his own aggressiveness, which is a balance that he's still learning, every day is a little bit different based on what your opponent's going to do to you. So that kind of snowballed there. It was fun to watch. I think,
it was elite to watch. And with Anthony, it looked to me Tuesday, TNT game, Sunday, ESPN game. It looked to me Tuesday like he was Sunday was a nationally televised game, and I and we are not happy with what we put out there. So watch this. I and we are capable of this. Those national TV games, where Barkley and Kenny Smith are involved and players are watching and stuff. Those moments matter to players and the big timers, right?
They absolutely do. And I think the other thing that mattered a lot to our team is they were disappointed in that they didn't get that win against the Lakers. Regardless of who we had or didn't have playing.
Right.
We have that expectation to win, which we love. And they felt they let themselves down. Those team hadn't lost 3 in a row all season. They weren't about to let it happen against the Clippers in front of a national audience.
Chris Finch's appearance is weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy Made Easy, and Second Harvest Heartland. Chris is on the board of that philanthropic endeavor. It is twoharvest.org. Anthony, back to Anthony. He's tearing up teams of late for sure. But a couple of things about his game. Do you feel his 3-point game is about to break out?
Yeah, I do. I think actually he needs to shoot more threes, more catch and shoot threes. Now the trick is there. We've got to create them for him. We got to have some ball movement and got to have some gravity from other guys to draw to and create a little pass combination so he can get some good, clean looks. But he needs to just trust it, let it fly, shoot at an elite level. It's one of the things he does absolutely best. And I think it's going to continue to set up a lot of other things, like his play off the catch, which will help his foul drawing. And when all that's going, he's really, really hard to guard. And I think a lot of it comes from his ability and willingness to take that three-point shot.
And secondly, Anthony's on-ball, one-on-one defense these days, it's high-end. I mean, it's not just good. When he's engaged with it, man, it's high end. Has it improved over the season, or just something in which he's taking more pride?
Yeah, I think it's improved because I think he feels and understands, the more he plays against certain guys, or he understands their tendencies. He can anticipate. He's got strength. He can move his feet in the tight spot. He's got excellent hands, a better feel. It's definitely been improving. The care factor's gone way up, I think, early on. He's felt that, I'll pick my spots, but he's, right now he knows that he's got to be a more consistent defender all the way through possessions. I mean, with the amount of load he has to carry offensively, of course we need to be smart in how we employ him defensively, but you'll often see him flip the matchup and go take the guy who's hurting us, and that could be, we've seen it against Jaren Jackson, we've seen it against Zion Williamson, we've seen it against, Damian Lillard, we've seen it against all types of guys too. So his versatility there defensively is another big weapon for us.
Conley clearly was feeling it on Tuesday. How key with Mike? How key is that for you guys when his offense ignites like that?
Yeah, I think it's crucial to our success moving forward, particularly in the absence of Cat. We need another guy who can score it, who is a reliable scorer. He's one of our best three-point shooters. He turns down a lot of open threes, and he has done for the sake of the greater good so far this year, run the show, etc. But we're pushing him now to be more aggressive. And if you may not remember this, but when he came on board last year, after about 5 or 6 games, we told him, hey, man, we just lost D'Angelo. He was a big scorer for us. You're going to have to score more. And he really scored well down the end of the season and into the playoffs. So he can do it. He likes to do it, and we saw the other day how important it is for us when he does do it.
How, by the way, how are you feeling these days? I mean, you had to miss that game last week. You feeling all right?
Yeah, I don't feel much better, thanks. That's the first game I've ever missed in my basketball career. I missed one preseason game when my mom passed away a few years ago, but other than that, as a player and a coach, I've never missed a game. But so that was a very, very weird feeling, but I'm feeling much better, thanks.
How strange was it not coaching that game? Like what did you do? Sit in the locker room and watch it?
I did have to watch it from afar. So, but yeah, it was strange. But I trust our guys. I thought the staff did a great job. I told Micah before taking the floor, just coach it as you would coach it. Don't worry about coaching it like how I would. It was a tough back-to-back. Players fought. We didn't have our best stuff, but I liked the effort. Some mistakes in the end hurt us. They were tough to watch, but, always pleased and proud of the effort.
Did Micah draw like his own offense and put his stamp on things and like go rogue on the opportunity?
He didn't go rogue. He used mostly the stuff that we used, but he did also, you do a few things, and that's what I tell coaches all the time. Like in the after timeouts or end of game situations, like it has to be what you're comfortable with, what you can clearly communicate to the players. What you want to execute. There's really no right or wrong plays. I mean, they're really hard to get them accomplished anyway in some of those situations, but. You gotta know that stuff innately, and you gotta be able to communicate it in the moment, and that's the most important thing. So there was a few things that he's very comfortable with that he chose to do, which I thought were the right things for sure.
All right. Lastly, you play Utah at Utah Saturday, then at Utah Monday, then Denver here Tuesday. So for Utah, I don't know how far down the road you are on them right now, but like without marketing, what's tricky with them? Rookie guard Keontae George, he can score a little bit, can he?
Yeah, he can. Really liked him, watching him through the draft process. We saw him early on in the season, when he was just trying to figure out the league, how dangerous he could be. Since then, of course, he's, gained more role, gained more confidence. There's, marketing is back practicing, so we're not sure if we'll see him or not. My gut tells me we will.
Right.
So that's going to make it tough. But, they're really, really well coached. They play hard. It's always a tough place to try to win, no matter what. Whether they're top of the Western Conference or somewhere in between, it's traditionally been a really hard place to play with altitude and passionate fan base, and they've taken some big teams down there. So it's going to be a tough little series. Those 2-game series are always hard.
Hey, man, I'm glad you're back up and running. God bless you, brother. Thanks for the hospitality out to Southern California way, specifically for my son. And safe travels, all right?
All right, no problem. Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Thank you, bud. That's Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy Made Easy, and Second Harvest Heartland at 2harvest.org. It's 9:16 in the neighborhood. The neighborhood being FM 100.3, KFAN, courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. Vikes Bites are around the corner. And the Minnesota Vikings, just like 35 minutes ago, it was reported by TomPellicero.com. Tom, they've made a massive draft day trade, and it's not even draft day. So we're going to hit that and some other ideas with the Minnesota Vikings. Up to Fran Tarkenton. HOF joins us 25 minutes from now. The analyst Pete Bursich, he's on the radio show at 10 o'clock. And yesterday with the press conferences with new Vikings free agents, I had the privilege of sitting down with Aaron Jones, Blake Cashman, and linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. And we'll play those back during the course of the presentation. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. This is 9 to noon on the Friday Football Feast at FM 100.3. All the kids around the world still call it KFAN. The Minnesota Vikings and Houston Texans have made a trade this morning, and it's official. It's all over the place. All the right constituents either confirming or tweeting about it. The Minnesota Vikings and Houston Texans with a draft day swap. The Vikings now have 2 first-round draft picks. Hey, the 11, which is ours, and now we have Houston's 23rd. So the Vikings get the 23rd pick in the draft from Houston and 232. 232 would be, what, 7th round way?
7th round, absolutely.
Yep, so we got Houston's 232. Houston gets our 42nd, which is the 2nd rounder this year, 188, which is a 6th rounder this year, and the Minnesota Vikings 2nd rounder next year. So the Vikings, when we hit the draft party at US Bank Stadium, we have 2 first-round picks. I mean, we've said during all of the Cousins conundrum and the Cousins chasm and the Cuz buzz and everything that outside of 09 for yours truly, all the years I've done it, this is one of the thickest and richest and meatiest and most succulent Minnesota Vikings off seasons in recent memory and in memory. So then free agency hits. We have like 30 players that we've signed, and they just keep signing players every second of every day. It's like you get home after sitting down with Andrew Van Ginkel and talking about his family in Rock City, Iowa, listening to Vikings games. Blake Cashman, Eden Prairie Go Crazy, how excited he is to be home. And Aaron Jones and the Showtime play. And before you can even get home and settle into dinner, Trent Sherfeld and Jerry Tillery are on the team. It just never stops. So then you sleep, you wake up, you're like, here we go, Finchy. We're going to roll through a show, talk about these free agents. And now we have 2 first-round picks. Now the question is, with 11 and 23 and you're looking to maneuver, could it potentially be for this guy?
And he transferred to North Carolina in January. Drake May to the end zone.
and a catch. John Copenhaver, an 18-yard touchdown. Now a flag after the touchdown.
Or, during the same week, the anti-Vike Sean Payton with the Denver Broncos trades Jerry Jeudy to the Calm, as in Kevin Calm, as in Kevin Stefanski, coach of the Cleveland Browns. Jerry Jeudy stays in the AFC, goes to the Cleveland Browns, but you just don't give away Jerry Jeudy. You got some draft pick equity with said trade. The Con immediately texts me saying, anti-Vike looking to amass assets to move up, maybe to get a quarterback in the NFL draft, but now we have 2 first-round picks, just in case we want this guy.
2 receivers each side, 5 in the pattern. McCarthy flush, steps up, gonna throw on the run, touchdown!
McCarthy doubles out of the pocket and launches. End zone, Wilson! That had a vapor trail.
So there it is. Here we are in this big old empty world, staring each other down. Vikes Bites provided by
Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. Go to thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com. Learn about the regenerative agricultural process and buy elite meat. Go to thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com. I mean, as I'm trying to add this up, so Sam Howell gets dealt to the Seahawks yesterday. So now you have a situation where you would imagine the Commanders are very much all in. Maybe they love Marcus Mariota and are going to start the season with him, or they're going to use the second overall pick on a QB. Chargers with Herbert, that fat deal would be tough to maybe trade. I've heard people saying that maybe they want to move on from him, and Harbaugh would take his college cat, J.J. McCarthy, at 5.
How in the hell did the Bears get Keenan Allen? Yeah, I mean, it was free. How'd they get Keenan Allen?
Well, they traded for him because he wouldn't take a pay cut.
Jeez, did they have to give up a lot?
Well, hang on one second.
Don't even worry about it. Just whatever.
4th round pick. Final year of his deal. He's going to make, I think it's 18 plus a $5 million roster bonus.
So Caleb Williams, play action to DeAndre Swift. Looks right to DJ Moore. He's doubled. Shakes the shoulders. Fires left side. And it's caught by Keenan Allen, who laterals to Gerald Everett inside the 30, out of bounds at the 20, first down Bears.
Correct, yes.
Damn!
We thought after last year when he had, 200 yards, he threw a 50-yard touchdown, we thought we could wash our hands of Keenan Allen for another 4 years until you play the Chargers again. No, we get him twice in 2024. So.
Well, when this is complete speculation, but from all right, 3-2. To make a trade like this with Houston so that you now end up with picks 11, you got 11, you got 23, and then we rest on Friday for now, and then on Saturday you start with the 4th round at 108. There, generally speaking, is a handshake that you have with somebody at 3, 4, or 5. So therefore, you have a handshake with somebody somewhere.
Yep.
That we got this, and we're going to give you this, and you're going to give us this. Can we get a handshake? Until somebody's like psych, and somebody comes up with a better deal. So all these times are tenuous right now. But when you make a move like this with, quote, flexibility, end quote, well, now that the chatting is legal, you've gone to chatting with somebody, feeling you can get to a certain spot to get to a certain player. The question is, which player is it? And we got a lot of time to speculate.
And that's why I was talking about Sam Howell. You're starting to weed out, the idea of where can you go, where can you trade up? And so it starts at number 3. I follow Chad Graff, who covers the Patriots, and he is all over this action here even this morning about the idea of the Patriots potentially being open to trading out of pick 3.
Oh, wow.
So then you get to Arizona at 4, not a QB spot. Harbaugh at 5, not a QB spot. Giants just brought in Drew Lock to compete with Daniel Jones. 6 is probably not a QB spot.
But you said something.
Start playing those games, man. It's fun.
You said something earlier I hadn't thought about. And, seriously, it's not a 0%er. What if Harbaugh's like, I want McCarthy so badly, you can have Herbert. But I get these picks and I get whatever else. It's a long shot, but he loves J.J. McCarthy, and he also loves quarterbacks on rookie deals.
He absolutely does. Now, I think the rookie deal part of it would be the sticking point for the Vikings. The $250 million deal or whatever it was that they have for Herbert.
Yeah.
Where you're buying the 5 or so years left on that deal. So I think that would not be on the cards or on the table for the Minnesota Vikings. But again, the flexibility, the ability to move up, and I was immediately thinking similar to you, where they've done some sniffing around. They have a vibe, at least a launch point of understanding in terms of what it's going to cost to get up there. Picks 11 and 23. That's pretty juicy.
That's pretty juicy.
This might be the shortest draft show radio show you've done in 10,
but by the
15
way,
years.
We have our first rounder next year. I mean,
if you can keep that'd be amazing.
That'd be great if you can keep it. But I mean, this is so tense right now because you have 11 and 23, and you might not need more to get to the spot you want to get to the player you want, unless the team with whom you may have a handshake or may not runs the old okey doke on you. And then, like, under the cover of darkness, all of a sudden Drake May ends up with somebody else like the anti-Vike. But then you still have 11 and 23, which means you can still do damage with that, depending on how much they like or don't like Michael Penix. And likewise, Bo Nix. Kwesi has created elite flexibility for, I mean, this is, it's like when you have 11 and 23, snipe proof, a trade proof. I mean, it just creates,
maybe even anti-Vike proof.
Right, and that's the first thing I thought of when you texted me about that Judy trade and him creating picks, them creating picks to get a quarterback, because they need a quarterback every bit as badly as we or other teams potentially need a quarterback. So now we got 11 and 23. Anti-Vike only has 12. He has some ancillary, deeper picks and stuff. He doesn't have 23.
No, he doesn't have. He has a fifth and a sixth.
He didn't call Houston. He called the Calm.
Correct.
And then he had to give up Jerry Jeudy, and he got picks. What did he get again?
For Jeudy?
Yeah,
I think it was like a fifth and a sixth or something like that.
Fifth and a sixth.
Yeah, no.
It ain't 8. Sean,
change.
It ain't 23. It's pocket change, says the Con.
What's funny about this, you were in L.A. and Bursich, I think, on Tuesday, filled in for Common 1 to 3 after the Go for Hoop show. And he had Rick Spielman on.
Oh, sweet.
Rick Spielman said, they might trade back.
Wow. Well, they might.
So a couple of days later...
Yeah. Well, they might.
We get 11 and 23. I think it's awesome. I don't think
you have unbelievable flexibility with 11 and 23.
Yeah, to move up, absolutely.
All right, but you have ultimate flex. You have elite flexibility to move all over the place when you have those two.
In a lot of ways.
I mean, it's getting cute with the picks, if you're going to
Let's not be cute.
You know what I'm saying?
I prefer not being cute, but
I'm
I do know
feeling
what you're saying.
There's a handshake with somebody. Handshake with somebody, and hopefully both parties or entities, if indeed this is accurate, and this is complete guessing and speculating, but if there's a handshake with somebody, then you got to have a handshake with the right person so that when we get to the draft and with the first overall pick, Chicago Bears take Caleb Williams, second overall pick, Washington Commanders take
probably Jaden
Daniels. We have a trade. The Minnesota Vikings have moved all the way up to third and usurped the anti-Vike to take Drake May. I'm in on Drake May if they can get up and get Drake May. I'm in on J.J. McCarthy if they can trade up to get J.J. McCarthy. Or maybe KOC likes Darnold so much, wants a little Justin Jefferson flexibility, so we're going all the way up to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Seriously, you can do so many things when you have these 2 first-round picks.
That's Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. Later on in the show, PA, maybe during the 10 a.m. hour, I do want to run through just all the things that have happened. Not only this, but also who's in, who's out of Egan as we stand right now in free agency.
And HOF Fran Tarkenton joins 9 to noon around the corner. But if you just joined, the Vikings and Texans have made a trade. The Minnesota Vikings now have 2 first-round picks because we get Houston's first-rounder, number 23, and 232, 7th-round terrorism. Houston gets Minnesota's second-round pick this year, number 42, 188, which is in the 6th round, and a second-rounder in 2025. Kwesi's making plays. The Vikings have 2 first-round picks, and we'll see what Fran, the man, and the fan thinks about it when we continue 9 to noon. HOF Radio is in the air. And joining us now is the greatest quarterback in the history of Minnesota Vikings football, Fran, the man on the fan. It is Fran Tarkenton and HOF.
HOF.
Radio is in the air. Fran, Paul Allen, good morning. What's going on out Georgia way?
Well, Paul, good morning to you. It's cloudy outside. Our buddy Kirk Cousins is the talk of the town.
Wow.
And, this time of the year is kind of interesting, and everybody is sitting on who's going to trade who and who's traded to where and how do you move up or down. And it's an interesting time for NFL fans because there's a lot of action, and we haven't had a draft yet. So,
right.
There's a new story every day.
Well, with old Kirko down there playing for the Atlanta Falcons, big cash too. I mean, 4 years and big guaranteed cash, Fran. So just overall, what do you think of all that?
I think Kurt, had to take the deal that the Falcons have been desperate. They've underperformed for years. They don't sell out the stadium. The quarterbacks last year were just abominable. And Kirk gives them a fresh face, a really good guy, good player, and they went and paid him, guaranteed $100 million
right.
at 36 years old. I understand what they were doing. I'm not saying I endorse it or not. I'm happy for Kirk, but I can understand why the Vikings didn't go there. That's a big gamble to go there with any quarterback that's 36, 37 years old. As good as Kirk's been, and I love Kirk Cousins. I think he played great for us. I think he played his best football last year before he got hurt. But also for the quarterback to play well, you got to be in a system that works for you. And I think Kevin is an excellent offensive coordinator as well as head coach. And Kirk played his best football under that system. And I think that's something that's mostly overlooked in pro football. And back in our day, Burnsy and I put in the offense in my time there, and we put in the passing game. And every time we had a backup quarterback, Bob Lee or Bob Barry, they played really good because it was the system. Tommy Kramer played after I retired. He was in that same system that we built, and he played terrific. The system that you have is so underappreciated but so important. And Kirk, just because he was great under Kevin, doesn't mean he's going to be great down here in an organization that struggles.
Right. And Fran, what do you think? I mean, maybe for your skill set or just overall as a quarterback. I mean, you're the best quarterback in the history of this team. You're a Hall of Famer, man. What do you think it would be like playing quarterback for Kevin O'Connell in this specific offense?
He's really good. I mean, for Kirk to get the production under his system was fantastic. And he'll continue to do that, and that's important. I just think that you've got to watch how you spend your money, and to go out and spend a large amount of money and lock up $100 million for 4 years or whatever it was. Then what do you do with the rest of your roster? And I don't think our people in Minnesota are wrong. I love Kirk Cousins. But the Falcons are desperate here to win something, and Kirk will play well here, but he's 36 years old, and I guarantee at 36 I wasn't as good as I was 30 when I was 31.
Right.
So all those factors are in there, but every team's got that factor. And of course, you look at the drafting of quarterbacks historically. The greatest quarterback of this era, coach of this era is Belichick. He drafted Brady in the 5th or 6th round.
Right.
He drafted that because he didn't think he could play. He was the 4th string quarterback for an entire year And Belichick watched him in practice every day and still didn't play. Didn't even dress him out for the games. The next year, he was still the backup quarterback. The starting quarterback got hurt, and guess what he did? He put Brady in, and Brady won 6 Super Bowls.
Right.
And Belichick has never won. So here we go. It's hard to look at who's going to be that guy. However, with that said, I think there's 6 or 7 college quarterbacks coming out in the draft this year. I think it's the best class of quarterbacks I've seen in years. I think all of them have a chance. All of them won't be great, and all of them won't be good. But I think they have 6 or 7. I would imagine we'll be in the hunt for at least one of them, and I think it's a really good class of quarterbacks.
Well, Fran, the man on the fan. I don't know if you saw the news from about an hour ago, but the Vikings, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the Vikings general manager, the Vikings just made a big trade this morning with the Houston Texans involving the draft in a month and a half. Here, absorb this if you haven't seen it, all right?
Okay, I haven't seen it.
So the Vikings have the 11th overall pick right now. Okay, you're cool. You got that, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the Vikings traded with the Texans, and the Vikings now have the Texans' first-round pick, 23 overall, and they get a 7th out of it. Houston gets the Vikings' 2nd this year, 42 overall, a 6th-rounder, and the 2nd-round pick next year. So Houston has the Vikings 2 this year and next year, and the Vikings, Fran, now have 2 first-round picks, 11 and 23. I mean, it's flexibility all over the place. But you just talked about those quarterbacks. I mean, if like Drake May or J.J. McCarthy are the apples of their eyes, or whomever it is, I mean, they now have more than a puncher's chance to move up to get one of those quarterbacks, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't even know if they have to move up. Because I tell you, the guy at Oregon who played at Auburn,
yeah,
he can play.
Nix.
I mean, Nix, he can play. So I think, and he's not going to go in the first 10 picks.
Right.
I think you've got some sleepers like that can really play, and in today's game, and I don't care. It's harder to play quarterback if you cannot run. And the best quarterbacks outside of Kirk in this league right now, all of them can pass. Everybody that comes in, they can pass. They're big enough. They're strong enough. But being able to run for a first down or run and buy more time, that's what it is today. It wasn't I was the only one doing it in 1961. But today, you look across the board, that's what the quarterbacks do. And the best one of all right now is a guy named Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And he's the epitome of a mobile quarterback. Now, what Patrick Mahomes has got, he's got one of the greatest offensive coaches of all time. They've got a great ownership. They got a great roster. And so it comes down to this. If you cannot control the offensive line and the defensive line of scrimmage, you're not going to win championships. Oh, no, we got to have the quarterback.
Right.
The reason we won so much in our era, we had the Purple People Eaters.
Right.
We had the best defensive line in all of football. All that run was Marshall and Page and Eller and so many other names that were the fourth person. And on defense, on offense, our offensive line was great. We have 2 Hall of Famers in there, Mick Tingelhoff and Ron Yeri. We had another one that would have been if we hadn't let him go, is Ed White. We had great offensive line, and we had other great players too. But we knew them. But if you don't, that's where you look at San Francisco. What are they got a 7th round draft choice quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant, who's playing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got the best offensive talent and the best defensive talent outside of quarterback in all of football.
Right.
And so they're playing for championships every year.
Right. Yeah, but you're right. But eventually that metaphorical window comes closing down on your fingers because, you think you can pay all of them for X amount of years, but then all of a sudden it just takes 1 or 2 to be like,
yeah.
No, I'm good. It's an extra $30 million to go here. So this team may not be as good as another team, but $30 million is $30 million. I got to think of my lineage and stuff like that. So, I mean, the Niners' opportunity is right in front of them, right here, right now. But that window is going to close, isn't it?
Well, we didn't have the problem of the salary cap in our era. It just wasn't as hard. And today it's hard. And every team is challenged. And that's why how you spend your money is so important. But it goes back. You look at Detroit. They took a quarterback that people were down on, but he was a high draft choice. He's turned out really good at Detroit. But they really built their defensive team and their offensive on the line of scrimmage. Pass rushers on defense, and they put people in there, and they play very physical football, and they're good. They're going to be competing, and that's where we need to be. And I'm not saying we're not there, but it looks like some of these moves we're making are really good moves, and because that's where we got to build up the strength. Now, I don't think that the quarterback we got now is a journeyman quarterback that we're not going to win championships with him. But we got to find a quarterback. I think I don't know this at all. I don't give anybody advice. But I'm just talking to you and the fans. I think making the right number one draft pick, go up and get one of these 6 or 7 quarterbacks that can play and let them sit for a year and then start the next year, or even start them right now. If you can play quarterback, you can play quarterback right now. Brady, the first time he had a chance, he won a Super Bowl. My first year, we're expansion team. We won our first game. We won 3 games. Nobody ever won expansion. I could play right off, and all the good players can play right off. So I'm not saying that a quarterback we could draft with our 6 or 7 we're touting. I think they can play. If they can play, they can play first year. You don't need to wait around 2 years for them.
Right.
HOF.
You know, Fran, the man on the fan, with that trade the Vikings made an hour ago, where now they have 2 first-round picks. They have Houston's 23rd and our 11. You mentioned Bo Nix. Yep. There's also the left-hander, the southpaw, Michael Penix from Washington. And
I love him.
Right.
I love him.
I mean, it's. I mean, you talked about the depth of the quarterbacks coming into this draft, and I believe it. I'm a believer in that too. But when you have 11 and 23, man, you know better than anybody. HOF. You can at 11 or around there. You can get the best or the one of the 2 best 3 techniques. Pass rushing defensive tackles in the draft, and it's deep in that spot from what I understand. And then around 23, you can mess around and get a quarterback, right?
Sure. I don't think there's any question.
Damn.
I think you're right. I think the priority should be let's make sure our defensive 7 and our offensive 5 on the line that we got strength there and we can win those battles. If you have that, you got a chance. If you don't, you don't have a chance. I don't care who your quarterback is.
Now with Sam Darnold, all right, 1 year, $10 million, and that's the journeyman you mentioned earlier. Sam did his press conference yesterday along with Aaron Jones, pass rusher Jonathan Grenard, Minnesotan Blake Cashman, linebacker from the Texans, Andrew Van Ginkel from Iowa by way of Miami. All right, so all those guys were present yesterday. Then we signed a couple more. Then we made this trade this morning. But with that said, Aaron Jones, the running back from Green Bay. I mean,
I like him.
At the end of the year last year, man, after he missed some time due to injury and he came back. He was the identity of their offense. I mean, he was on fire at the end of the season. What do you think of play action to Aaron Jones?
Well, I think running backs, and it's showing, you got a lot of running backs in the league and coming into the league who could play. You don't need to spend first-round draft choices on getting running backs. There are just a lot of them who can play. Philadelphia just took up Saquon Barkley, who was all world and all stuff. But down here, here's what the Falcons did, I think, terribly. They had a 7th-round draft choice 2 years ago. They ran for 1,200 yards, and then they went out and got the guy out of Texas who was in the 8th pick of the first round to be there he's no better than the guy they already had.
Jeez.
And I think the same thing. And down here, they messed up with their wide receivers. They got a guy, Tyler Pitts, who's a 6'7" tight end who looks more like a wide receiver. He hasn't been great here. He's not the body for a tight end.
Jeez.
And so they don't have, and yet they wasted number one draft choice in them, and that will come. It's already come back to bite them. It's going to continue to come back to bite them because you can find wide receivers and you can find good running backs all over the place. You don't have to get number one draft choice for them, but use those number one draft choice for the pass rushers, the pass protectors, a shutdown cornerback, which are going to win you games.
Lastly, and back to Cousins. All right, so he switches teams for a second time in his career, going from Washington to here to Atlanta. Now, for you, Fran, what was it strange or hard changing teams? Like when you went from Minnesota to the New York Giants, was that difficult in any way?
Yeah, it was difficult because they had no players, they had no coaches, they had no organization. That's what was difficult about them.
Yeah, right.
But if you got that, here's the deal. And we got great owners in Minnesota. Great owners. We have a great staff there. We have a great head coach who's a tremendous offensive coordinator. We got all the stuff. We got all. It's a great place to be. I don't think the Falcons have that. They don't sell out games here. Up there, everybody's sold out. Everybody's wearing Vikings jerseys and so forth. Packed. Here, the Georgia Bulldogs sell out 90,000 seats. Not the Atlanta Falcons. The big thing down here are the Bulldogs. And with all due respect to the Gophers, the big thing up there is the Minnesota Vikings. Always has been.
Right.
And so I think I hate to see Kurt go, but I think our guys did the right thing. I mean, to pay $100 million guaranteed to any quarterback at 36, I think is a little bit of a stretch. And I don't think, without Kurt in there, that we'll compete. I think we'll have a good team, but we're not going in championships. But we can build properly, so we can build for. Now we'll play good this year, and then we'll be better as we go down the road. And so I hate that Kurt's gone, but if I was sitting in the Vikings situation, do I give him $100 million guaranteed for 2 years and a 4-year contract? I don't think I'd do that.
HOF, you're the very best. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend, all right?
All right, buddy. Thanks.
See ya. Fran Tarkenton, greatest quarterback in the history of Minnesota Vikings football.
HOF.
Analyst Pete Bursich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, joins 9 to noon around the corner to talk about this whopper of a deal the Minnesota Vikings and Houston Texans made this weekend. Back in a